The reason that we're here today is to kind of understand why women and children are carrying the most numbers, the highest new cases when it comes to HIV. It affects everyone. There shouldn't be anyone that says that they're unable to get HIV, because that's totally incorrect. Everyone is affected by HIV, and everyone can transmit HIV, or everyone can get HIV.
National Women and Girls HIV Awareness Day, and it's very important to be able to speak with the women and girls of our community to let them know that it's super important to take action. It's very important that you go get tested. It's very important that you know your status so that you can empower yourself to go get what you need to keep yourself and your family safe.
The Center for Minority Health and Health Disparities Research and Education in the College of Pharmacy at Xavier University of Louisiana aims to reduce health disparities, particularly ending the HIV epidemic. Initiatives such as the Louisiana CAN campaign are very vital in increasing awareness, education, and community engagement and outreach within our communities. We're very excited about Louisiana CAN campaign because it gives us an opportunity to reach and go into the community and educate. Join us at louisianacan.org.
Good afternoon, everyone. So excited to see each and every one of you here today. My name is Dr. Lakeisha Williams, and I will be introducing our moderator. But first, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to our town hall event entitled Redefining Narratives, Women and Girls at the Forefront of HIV Awareness. A very important topic. Excuse me. Today we gather with a sense of urgency and purpose, compelled by our recent statistics that we find from the Louisiana Department of Health. Out of 22,978 individuals living with HIV and AIDS in Louisiana, the data reveals that 28% were women and 1.9% were transgender women. These numbers are not mere figures. They represent lives, communities, futures impacted by a virus that continues to pose significant challenges to public health. It also further sheds light on the disproportionate burden among our minority communities. We all know that specifically when we look at those that are living with HIV in Louisiana, specifically women, 80.1% are Black or non-Hispanic. And among the transgender women, 82% are Black and non-Hispanic. And these disparities underscore the intersectional nature of HIV and AIDS, highlighting the complex interplays of race, gender, and socioeconomic factors in shaping vulnerability and access to care. So this is why we are here today, to be able to discuss these statistics, to be able to develop interventions and solutions and strategies as we hear about these statistics. Specifically, a significant portion of those cases, when we look at new HIV cases, affect our young individuals aged 13 to 24. And as we reflect on these statistics, let us not lose sight of the resilience and strength exhibited by our women and girls affected by HIV and AIDS. Their stories, their struggles, their triumphs must serve as our guiding light as we embark on a collective journey to redefine the narrative surrounding HIV awareness. So as we come today, let us have an open, honest dialogue grounded in empathy and understanding. Let us confront the stigmas surrounded by HIV, the inequality, and let us champion the rights and dignity of every woman and girl affected by HIV and AIDS. We want to make sure that we move forward, committed to a future where HIV and AIDS no longer casts a shadow over the lives of women and girls in Louisiana and beyond. And so for that, I'm very excited to be able to hear so much of what our panelists have in store for us today. Definitely excited about this conversation. We thank each and every one of you for joining us. And at this time, I will bring up our moderator, Ms. Erica Vincent. Ms. Erica Johnson Vincent is a lead education coordinator with 24 years of experience in youth health and human services. She has worked with youth and Louisiana state agencies in different capacities over her vast career. One of her greatest accomplishments came in 2019 when she founded her nonprofit Purple Dynasty Foundation, which focuses on women and youth support and advocacy. In 2022, she completed city certification with Louisiana State University for her work with the National HIV Behavioral Surveillance. She is a present board member for the Louisiana Adolescent Reproductive Health Coalition and has received continuous education through the Institute of Women and Ethnic Studies. In addition to all the young women in the community that she has mentored, Ms. Vincent has continued her public health efforts through her current employer, Crescent Care, where she serves a lead education coordinator. And there, she has developed new standard operating procedures of STI testing and outreach, in addition to high school mentoring programs and youth initiatives. She has created and launched several different programs for women, youth, and LGBTQ awareness in her tenure. And she has spoken on several youth, women, and education panels across the state and plans that her legacy associates her work with community service and the mentorship of youth and women across the country. One of you for joining us. And at this time, I will bring up our moderator, Ms. Erica Vincent.
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing this morning? All right. We're getting it together. All right, let's get our speakers introduced because these young ladies are very important to our panel today. Young, that's what I said. I said young. We all are young, right? Yeah, okay. So I want to introduce our panelists this morning. And give me 1 second. Let me find. I don't have that one. So let's start with Miss Kennedy White, who's filling in. She did us a big favor this morning. So she's a third-year pharmacy student with Xavier University. Kennedy is taking the HIV and AIDS in at-risk communities electives to equip herself with better advocacy for New Orleans community. So thank you. Give it up for Kennedy White. And we also have Ms. Gina Brown. Ms. Gina Brown is a community activist. Yes. She has worked in the field with HIV for 20 plus years and has been living with HIV for 28 years. She graduated magna cum laude of Southern University, New Orleans with a bachelor's of social work and minor in history in 2011. She received her master's degree in social work in 2012. Ms. Brown is a former member of the Presidential Advisory Council of HIV and AIDS, which is PACHA. All right. She served on numerous boards and committees and is the past co-chair for the Well Project's Community Advisory Board. Ms. Brown is also a public speaker and a community educator. She has appeared in many magazines and publications and is the ambassador for Greater Than AIDS initiative, appearing in the Women, HIV, and Intimate Partner Violence video. Ms. Brown truly believes in service work and has made it her life's mission to help border communities gain high level of health literacy. And this is Ms. Gina Brown. So we're going to start our panel with our questions this morning. And the first question I have for the panel is, why is it crucial to redefine the narrative surrounding HIV/AIDS Awareness with specific focus on women and girls? I'll give you guys at least 2 minutes to answer. Ms. Jeannie, you want to go first?
So it is really important that we not redirect, right? We have to really make sure that women and girls are centered. Because we've been a part of this epidemic from the beginning, y'all. When those men were in San Francisco in that hospital with carposis, sarcoma, and PCP pneumonia, there was a Haitian woman there. Back in the day, they used to say you had to get, it's the 5 H's, that's how you got HIV. Heroin, Haitians, hemophiliacs, homosexuals, and what was the last one? No.
Hepatitis.
It wasn't hepatitis. I'll think of it and I'll come back to y'all. But it was the 5 H's. When really and truly it is about human people. It's about us.
Yeah.
As a woman living with HIV, I really don't see myself often in the conversation. When I was diagnosed in 1994 and my thing I sent them was wrong, y'all. I almost have 30 years in this. Next month it'll be 30 years.
Oh, wow. Good.
And when I was diagnosed, I really thought I was the first woman in the world with it. I remember coming home, getting off the bus, and I was walking home and I was thinking, oh my God, channel 4, 6, and 8 gonna be at the house. Because I'm the first woman in the world with this, and they're gonna wanna know, how did I get it? And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't hearing about women. Why weren't we talking about women? So that's why it's important that we center women and girls now. If we don't, we're gonna always be there.
Agreed. Ms. Kennedy?
For me, when I look at the resources that have been provided for us, we have Black women accounting for 54% of new HIV diagnoses, but only 8% are using PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. So with that, the numbers aren't adding up. And we have to, like Ms. Gina Brown said, we have to center women because clearly there's a problem and it's not equitable right now. And we have to focus on women, clearly, with the statistics that we have.
And also to add to that, we need to, with centering women, we need to educate. We need to band together and educate our women because that percentage jump is so big because there's a lack of education somewhere in between. If it's not moving, and it hasn't moved very much in the past couple of years, we need to add to that by educating our women on PrEP, educating our women on the way that HIV is transmitted. I mean, a lot of people don't know that, and it's really something that we need to do. Okay, next question. How do social norms and cultural perceptions impact the experiences of women and girls living with HIV, living or affected by HIV and AIDS? And what steps can we take to challenge and change these narratives?
The first thing we can do is stop looking at women and girls who are living with HIV as dirty or nasty. I remember once I was in Dallas at Parkland Hospital doing a talk, auditorium full of people. And I said, who thinks they're at risk for HIV? And maybe 3 people raised their hand. And I said, okay, so who has children? And half the auditorium raised their hand. I said, please keep your hand up. I say, the same way you made that baby, that's how I contracted HIV. And you should have saw those hands come down. Because people don't want to admit that it's the same.
And
it was nothing different.
Everybody is susceptible to it.
Nothing was different about what women and girls do. But we shame them.
Yes.
And like you said about education, we're not educating our young girls.
No.
We're leaving it up to
YouTube, social media,
and TikTok, to educate young girls, and we got to stop doing that. We have to really have conversations with our daughters. When my daughter was young, I made sure it was age appropriate.
Yeah.
We had sex talks all the time. She's 29, she'll be 30 this year. I was pregnant with her when I was diagnosed. She's been a part of this thing from day one. And because I was on the study, she's not living with HIV, but that does not mean, thank you for that, but it does not mean she, just because you were not perinatally impacted, doesn't mean you can't be behaviorally impacted.
Correct.
So we really have to do more education with our women and girls.
Correct. Ms. Kennedy?
I would say, along with education, normalizing testing. Just last week, I had a conversation with my brother. We were talking about something random, and I randomly threw it in there. I said, when's the last time you've been tested? And just to see what he was saying, he was like, you know what, I actually need to go get tested. And I think by us just having that conversation, we didn't talk about sex as kids. I didn't get education in high school. We just didn't talk about it. It wasn't until I got to Xavier and we started talking about infectious disease and how important it is to get tested that I realized, you know, this is really a problem. And I think if we all take from today, having a conversation with one person, hey, when's the last time you've been tested? Yeah. And then I feel like that will start a ripple effect, just normalizing HIV and AIDS, just how we talk about diabetes diagnosis. It's nothing for somebody to say, oh, I have diabetes. So if we create a community, a safe environment where someone can say, oh, I have HIV, and there's no stigma around it, I think that would be huge.
One of the programs one of the programs that I started at Crescent Care is the sexual health talk. That talk begins at 13. It should be getting much lower than that in the school system because kids are having sex younger and younger every day. They're uninformed about the way that HIV is transmitted, and the parents are in denial. So a lot of talks need to be had with the kids and the parents to educate them as well that just because you're having the conversation doesn't mean that your child is going to have sex. I mean, you don't have to do that, but you do have to educate them and arm them with information so that when they do go out into the world, they won't make certain mistakes or they won't have certain stigmas put on them for having sex or whatever the case may be. And our classes consist of sexual health, explaining all of the STIs and what their symptoms are and the treatment for them and how to get tested and when should they be tested and when should they start being tested, as well as consent, which is another huge thing amongst young women. And you know, when they know that they're being coerced or when they know that how to know that this is not what you want right now and how to say no. So those are some of the things that we teach when we go out into the school system, which the school system is teaching abstinence. So along with abstinence, there's no HIV. They want to play like that does not exist. So we can't teach about HIV because we can't teach about sex. So that's something that has to change in our legislature. I believe that's a very important thing. And with our government, we have to start there with some of those changes. It won't change until we get the knowledge. We get to give them the knowledge that they'll need to succeed with that. But very good points, ladies. Research indicates that women and girls are disproportionately affected by HIV and AIDS in many regions. Yeah, we just said that. What are some of the key factors contributing to this disparity, particularly in the South, and what strategies can we implement to address this effectively?
I have to reiterate it. Testing. If we normalize testing within Black women, within the Black community, within everybody, then we could, of course, maybe the stats may go up, but we're reducing stigma and
insecurities.
That too.
Yeah.
There
Look, you want me to get it up?
Yeah. What else were you thinking?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think testing is really the answer. I really do. The stats right now, because you know, Black women are accounting for 54% of new HIV diagnoses. However, we have to increase testing. We still have to test. Even though that number is high, we can't allow that to scare us. We have to continue to test, and we have to promote other alternatives for women, that they can take Truvada, which is PrEP. They can. They have that option.
And also when we think about the social determinants of health, right? When we think about unhoused people, I tell this story all the time. If a woman is unhoused and she has a 13-year-old son and she goes to a shelter, she cannot sleep on the same side with her son.
That's right.
He has to go on the side with the men. And I don't know any woman that's gonna let that 13-year-old son go on the side, sleep with men they don't know. So once you're on the street and Mr. Johnny around the corner, every time you pass, he wink at you. And you know Mr. Johnny got an extra bedroom. But you know one thing too, Mr. Johnny like you. So in order to have a place to stay, you do what you need to do with Mr. Johnny. And you're not the only one that's going to Mr. Johnny's house.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about survival sex. We don't talk about unhoused people. We don't talk about poverty.
Yeah.
Poverty is a driver of HIV.
It is.
You know, housing is a driver. It's healthcare and it's prevention. If a person is stably housed, it's easier for them to deal with their HIV, and if they're not living with HIV, it's easier to get them off PrEP. Because if I can go to your house and have a conversation with you where I'm not catching you in Walgreens. I used to do testing in Walgreens, and I will tell you, black women would look at me like they wanted to just chop my head off when I would offer them the test. Because you're in Walgreens. You want to be in an intimate setting. You want to feel like you're talking to your girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, like, girl, when you got tested? You know, that kind of thing. So it's where we live. We live in a Bible Belt, y'all.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with the Bible Belt. It's just that sometimes the Bible is that shield, but the Bible is not the thing that keeps you from contracting HIV.
It's not.
So we need churches to be involved.
Yeah.
We need the community involved. We need schools involved.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be up in Baton Rouge talking about this all the time. Because it does start at the top and then it trickles down, but we at the bottom, so we can start at the bottom and make sure it goes up.
Exactly. I think that we should have more women groups. Years ago, and I'm not going to tell how many years ago, but years ago, Health and Human Services, Louisiana Health and Human Services, they broke up into divisions now. There's Jefferson and there's, different ones. And I worked for Jefferson, and there was groups for women. And these groups were not specified for HIV. It started as a smoke cessation group. And you came there if you wanted to quit smoking, and you wanted to have somebody to talk to about it and all that. So it started as that. And just one day, because I wasn't really in my calling at that time, but one day, the doctor who led the group had to leave. And I had to run the group. And I was like, oh Lord, I can't run this group. I don't know what to tell these people. And so the lady said, how old are you? Because you look like you're a little too young to be here. I said, well, no, I work here. I'm younger. I'm in my 20s at that time. So she told me, do you mind if I talk to you for a second? And I was like, I guess, yeah, you could talk to me. And her story was her coming out of HIV. And I was like, what do you want me to do with that? Like, I'm listening to her, and again, not qualified at all to make any conceptions or anything about her situation, but she wanted to share it with somebody, and she had no one to share it with. And she said, you had the kindest face in the room. So I figured I could talk to you about it and you wouldn't judge me. And I'm like, I have no information to judge. I am in my 20s and still not knowing what this is doing in our community. And when she spoke about it, she said, have you been tested? I said, yeah, when I was pregnant. She said, was that your first time? I said, yeah. She said, tell your children. Tell your children that they should get tested, because you know what? My husband gave me HIV. And that is another problem that we have in the black community. Our women go home to husbands that are down low, and they're giving them HIV. So, yeah.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So yes, that is part of it, but the bigger part is, as women, we have to ask questions.
Yes.
We can't be afraid to talk to our partner about the things they've done and the things we've done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to tease one of my friends. I said, girl, every time you get a man, you're a virgin again. How does that happen? And she would just look at me. I was like, for real, like every time you get a new man, this is, I'm like, I don't understand it. You know my situation. And I need you to take better care of you.
Yeah, I hope y'all didn't hear me laughing on the mic, but that was very funny.
Do you mind if I add?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yesterday, y'all, I was having a conversation with my mom, and she was telling me how she's like, oh, I'm having pain, but like, I'm gonna be okay. And I think that's one of our biggest problems. Black women just saying, you know, I'm gonna be all right. You're not going to the doctor because you're worried about, you know, making sure that everything's okay in the household. You're taking care of children. Mm-hmm. So I think if we allow space for Black women to not be okay, mm-hmm. for them to prioritize themselves and their health.
Yeah. Holding it down. The strong Black woman syndrome. Yeah. Stigma remains a significant barrier to HIV/AIDS prevention, treatment, and support. How can we work together to combat stigma, particularly as it intersects with gender, sexuality, race, socioeconomic status? What y'all got?
So the first thing we have to do when it comes to stigma is we have to see look at how we talk about HIV, right? Mm-hmm. So we talk about HIV in affirming ways, like saying people living with HIV, women living with HIV, using people first language. I like to tell people stories about the beginning of HIV and how far we've come.
Yeah.
So that they know that this is real. I'm not just sitting there when you get your diagnosis saying, you're gonna be okay. You're really gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, also using myself as a stigma buster, right? So when I'm in a room, people know my status, I'm not hiding it. In my neighborhood, people know my status. And I've had people in the grocery store say, because I used to wear red chucks, and that's my thing, I wear red chucks, so people can know who I am, right, in community. And I've had people approach me in the grocery store and say, I saw you on the news, and I knew you from your chucks. I need to talk to you.
Wow.
I've had a lady tell me she was diagnosed 10 years ago, had never been in care. I took her by the hand and I walked her into care.
Yeah.
Because that's how you break stigma. You break stigma by treating people like human.
Yes, yes.
And not like the disease or virus that they have.
Yes, exactly.
I think that stigma is so big because of fear. It's the idea that people aren't educated even about you equals you. If there is undetectable levels of HIV, you can't transmit. And so many times, recently I just went to a community event. It's a wellness session that happens every third Tuesday of the month. It's at Vote right down the street. And a lot of the questions that people had was, you know, if I touch someone, can I get HIV? And what I love is that we created a safe space where people could ask those questions. So we could tell them, no, that's not possible, that we have treatment, that you equals you is possible. And so allowing people to be educated, I think that will break stigma down. That's what's really, you know, causing the fear. People just, they don't know.
Not only that, not only do they not know, some people don't want to know. With them not wanting to know their status, we test so many people daily. At Crescent Care, we test on Tuesdays through Fridays, free testing, HIV testing, hepatitis testing, syphilis testing. And you would be surprised at how many people go with a friend to get tested, but won't get tested themselves. Won't get tested themselves knowing that they've been experimenting the same behaviors. But to not know is peace. What's the saying? Ignorance is bliss. I mean, I don't want to know what my status is. And I don't feel like you should be the one to tell me. And it breaks into something else when you get into, say, for instance, a car accident or something happens and a nurse has to be the bedside manner person to tell you that you have your viral load is this, and then you're not understanding, and that causes a lot of mental health issues in different things like that. But yeah, stigma is fear, and people, there's so many people that will say, well, especially with kids, oh, I don't want to be around that person, or that person's going to give me AIDS. If I kiss them, I'm going to get, you know. And back to education, is everything surrounds the education of it all. Good.
When I came out as living with HIV, I went on TV because I hate telling people stuff one by one. I just don't like telling one person at a time. So So I figured I'll just blow the whole world up and tell everybody. So I went on TV and I thought that it was gonna be really bad. I was prepared for the shun, being shunned. I was prepared for my daughter not having any friends. Oh my goodness. I go to my old neighborhood because I figure I'm gonna put my toe in the water here first. And if y'all don't accept me, then I ain't going nowhere else.
Right.
I go to the neighborhood and everybody had to hug me. And I don't like people touching me like that. So everybody would hug me to show me that they weren't afraid of me. And that meant a lot.
That did.
It meant a lot to me.
And that's a warming, welcoming reception. But think about how many others are shunned. And it's like, I'm not hugging, I'm not going nowhere near them. If they breathe on me, you know, yeah. Access to comprehensive health services is crucial in the fight of HIV and AIDS. How can we assure that women and girls, especially those marginalized communities, have equitable access to prevention, testing, treatment, and supportive services? I could take a minute to think about it. That was a long question.
You mind repeating it?
Sure. Access to comprehensive health care services is crucial to the fight in HIV and AIDS. How can we ensure that women and girls, especially those from marginalized communities, have equitable access to prevention, testing, treatment, and supportive services? They don't do those women groups anymore. Maybe we should start that, Caitlin.
I think if we center women, like you said, if we create those groups so that women know what their options are. I think Crescent Care does a really great job. They make sure that you can get tested for free. PrEP is available. PEP is also available, post-exposure prophylaxis. And if we center women, if we let them know what's going on, I feel like Xavier has done a really great job with the Louisiana CAN campaign, that all of you all are here today and we can talk about it. I think it's also our responsibility to make sure that we're protecting the women and the men in our lives. So you're not only, you know, listening to what we're saying up here, but you're talking to the people that are in your lives about what their options are. Hey, have you been tested yet? So I think it also starts with us.
Okay.
I agree with all of that. And I also think that we think about marginalized women, right, when we think about HIV. You know how many AKAs and Deltas are living with HIV?
Yes.
We don't talk about professional women.
Yes.
And I think in order to really think about or to address HIV, we have to go every age group, every demographic,
yeah.
socioeconomic status, all of those things, because if we leave any woman out and she gets a diagnosis, then I feel like I'm a failure. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, man, I saw her over there and I didn't say anything to her because she didn't look like
she could have.
Like her.
Mm-hmm.
And we gotta stop
with that stigma.
You know, we have to really
Who
look
looks
at
like
all
they have
women
HIV?
and say, have you been tested?
Mm-hmm.
Can we have a conversation? You know, let's have tea and talk about this. You know, go out with your girlfriends. I go out with my girlfriends who are not living with HIV, and I give them an HIV 101. They get so sick of me, but I don't care because I'm trying to save your life.
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, y'all. We went past, that was my last question because we kind of went a little bit over, but it's a great conversation. It needs to be continued. Do we have any questions from the audience at this point?
I'm gonna get you a microphone.
I felt it come loose, but I don't know where it went. Oh, yeah.
Thank you both, ladies. I'm Dr. Tyra Gross, Associate Professor and Department Head of Public Health Sciences here at Xavier, and I'm so glad I was able to attend this event. And I had two nerd moments listening to this conversation. So one is, how would you say the COVID pandemic complicated conversations around HIV? Because we talked a lot about, like, you know, people being afraid of exposure and all of that, but then also maybe, you know, because it was an infectious disease, maybe, I don't want to assume everything was negative, like maybe there was some way to build off of like COVID conversations and the whole pandemic. So that was my first question. And then the second question, Ms. Gina, to your story about getting tested and being pregnant with your daughter. I know last year the CDC revised their recommendation on breastfeeding in the context of HIV, which I was really excited about because I did a paper on that as a doctoral student. And so I was wondering, has that information been getting out to the community? So those are my two questions. Thank you all so much.
I'll take your second question first. So the breastfeeding for women living with HIV, I'm really proud of the women who are doing that because I know all of them, and they are amazing women. The Well Project is an organization out of New York that has been writing a lot of papers about it. They've been in front of the CDC, they've been talking about it. A couple of the women who work there have actually breastfed their babies. Amazing, amazing. We have to keep, the research can't stop here. We have to keep going because we know that mother's milk is the best milk, really. You know, and if we can give our babies extra protection with our milk, we should be able to do that and not feel like we're going to jail or going to the other place, you know, the H place. Because sometimes that's how they make us feel. So I love that you brought that up. I love that you did a paper on that. And I'm going to let them know at the Well Project that you said what you said about it because it's really important.
I would say with COVID, it's as though everything stopped. Our whole world stopped. We stopped getting annual screenings for all types of conditions. When we're thinking about cancer or colorectal screen, we just stopped. And so when we're looking at HIV, testing also stopped. And I think that it had a negative impact when we're looking at testing. However, what Gilead has done so far and trying to pick up the pace and the fact that Xavier is partnering with Gilead and we're here today with you all, I think that there has been a positive outcome in general. We're having this conversation, and so I believe that COVID did impact us negatively with testing.
Wait, ma'am, I'm about to
introduce
you.
I just want to say that also for people living with HIV, what COVID did was it made them feel like the 90s again. A lot of my friends, especially my gay, bisexual, same-gender loving men friends, they said when they had to wipe their groceries down and do all of that stuff, it just made them feel like they were back in the real stigmatized late 80s, early 90s.
No, so one thing I wanted to, two things I wanted to add.
Make it quick.
One, when it comes to breast milk, outside of the US, they always did it, right? And so it took us longer and more hurdles to get through, but U equals U was pretty much the trendsetter for that. We knew that HIV could not be passed on through breast milk if a woman was undetectable. The second thing I would say, I guess because I worked in HIV during COVID, people had more sex than the law allows. A lot of us in this room did too. People we didn't know, people we didn't want to exchange names with. We were doing things during COVID that we probably didn't want nobody to know. And they probably wouldn't see us because they were scared themselves. But when we look at testing rates, specifically in Baton Rouge, for the months of June, July, and August, remember that, Gina? They were high. In June 2020, they tested over 400 people at Open Health in Baton Rouge in the clinic. How? Because they did and laid the groundwork for handing out condoms and lube and educational packets. So when people were making that decision, I don't know if I'm gonna live or die, let me go ahead and get what I can get, they were like, okay, so now that I've got it, let me go ahead and get tested, right? And so I think it's so layered that one answer is probably gonna be really difficult because then we have to start being honest. Because I'm not making no eye contact, but a lot of us in this room was doing a lot of fun stuff during COVID that we didn't want anybody to know, and we were saving money too.
With that being said, I'm going to introduce Ms. Kaida Matufa, Senior Community Liaison at Gilead Sciences, South Central Atlantic Region, Louisiana, community educator, advocate, and activist. Ms. Kaida.
And you got a question.
We'll take another question in a second.
Okay. So I'm supposed to be doing a call to action and just getting y'all, kind of really excited about what you're gonna do after today, right? Because a lot of you are students, right? Raise your hand if you're a student. Okay. How many of y'all about to go into the workforce? Not in the rotation, but an actual job. Anybody going into a job? But some of y'all are gonna have rotations, right? You'll have the opportunity to interface with people and to change laws and policies, introduce different things to the communities and the employers that you work for, right? That is what we need y'all to do at this point. The second thing we need everyone in here to do is to get tested. A lot of us will project onto other people what we think they should do, but we are very seldom doing it ourselves and talking about it. We put a huge burden of responsibility on women living with HIV to tell the HIV story. A huge burden. However, we never say, hey, Miss Gina, I got tested. We never walk into Walmart or Target, get that OraSure, or call Miss Elena's office or another office to get a free HIV test mailed to your home, right? And so ensuring that we all know our HIV status. And then the third and last thing is to do your very best to try to elevate those communities of people who are impacted. And what Gina just said is so true. There is no one community that's impacted by HIV anymore, right? We have way more people that are vulnerable to HIV than ever before, simply because of our sexual networks. And usually when I do my presentations, I ask people, what's a sexual network? Anybody in here, can you tell me what's a sexual network? Is Xavier a sexual network? All the HIV, and I went to 2 of them, right? Exactly. And so not only is the student population a sexual network, but also our intellectual connections within those HBCUs are sexual networks as well, right? Because it's comfortable for us. And so I encourage all of you to really understand what your sexual network is. Oh no, Kaita, I don't have sex with people who are, or people who are, or people who are. You have sex with people. You have sex with people. And whom you have sex with, that's your business. But you have sex with people, and knowing that and being able to share that and communicate that with other people, that is what I challenge each and every one of you all to do here today. All right, so thank you, Ms. Harris.
Thank you. I'm going to introduce Dr. Kennedy, and we'll take the remainder of the questions after that. Introducing Ms. Kathleen Kennedy. She's the Dean of the College of Pharmacy. Give it up for Dr. Kennedy. Come on in. Xavier University Director, Center of Minority Health and Health Disparities Research and Education.
Thank you so much.
No problem, Dr. Kennedy.
Thank you. As a moderator, we didn't get a chance to learn about all the things that you've done, but I do want to thank you. That was an excellent panel discussion that you led. And I'm so excited about all of you being here and our panelists in particular. I'm going to start with Ms. Gina Brown. She has been a panelist for us before, and I think what is so important is that she speaks to you as a regular person, and I think you can relate to her. I made some notes about the whole, the talk about sexual health that you mentioned. Who does that? Even the doctors, we went to a session and they said the doctors don't even know how to have that conversation with you. We had a session where we asked women, when is the last time when you went in for your regular checkup, did they ask you about whether you'd been tested? Testing is very important, but education is where really it needs to start. I'm so excited about our student because you see how well she represents the future. Haida mentioned, they're the ones who are going out and working in the communities, in the pharmacies, wherever they are, and they can educate the next generation of people, starting young, talking about it. When I grew up, that wasn't something that, your mother sat down with you or your father sat down with you and said, let me tell you. And of course, it's always good to see, we don't have to just have women here to hear this. We need everybody. Anybody can talk to their parents, their friends, whoever it is, about what's going on and what needs to happen. On our website, I want to tell you, we do have a place for you to put your zip code to find out where to get tested. So as students, as you go out and work in the community, that's something that you can provide. Our panel discussions, we recently had one on HIV is not a crime, which was great. We are putting those on our website so that we may not have 100 or 500 people here, but you can direct them to the website so that they can listen to this panel discussion and the others that we've had, because we need to educate everybody about the risk and the importance. I know that one of our panelists in the past said that the people who are at greatest risk are married women. And we've heard some of that discussion today. Another point that came up was about equal health care. And I happened to meet a woman in a gift shop in Atlanta when we started this collaboration with Morehouse and the Satcher Health Leadership Institute, who was a pharmacy tech. And she talked about how people reacted to individuals who were coming in to get their prescriptions filled. And she happened to be HIV positive, and she quit. So, again, as healthcare providers, we have to treat people with respect. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from. This is about equal health care, and that's what the center is about, to ensure that we have equal health care for everyone. And the social determinants of health we've talked about, those things that impact the ability for people to get the resources that they need. So there was just so much that was discussed today, but I really thank all of you for your time, for being here, providing this information so that we can share it on our website, not just with the individuals here, but to educate as many people as possible. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Also, Dr. Nowis and Dr. Williams, we'd like to acknowledge you at this time. I know you don't have that on here, but thank you guys so much for putting all of this together. Also, to piggyback up what Dr. Kennedy just said, Dr. Williams set up one of those sexual health talks here on campus on, I'm looking at my calendar, April 18th. That's the day, right? So we're going to have that sexual health talk here, and we want the students to come and spread that information. At this time, well, Dr. Kennedy just closed us out, but at this time, if you have any more questions for our panelists. Okay.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Elena. I work for the New Orleans Health Department for the Ryan White Services and Resources. Hi, everyone. And I just want to say thank you so much for your services, for what you guys do, Kaida, everybody in this room. You guys are making a huge difference. But I also want to promote a little bit of the campaign that we're doing with the Health Department, which is our Bounce to Zero campaign. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to remember, Bounce to Zero, meaning let's bounce to zero HIV. Know your status. I don't have enough t-shirts for everybody, but I do have it for the panelists. And if I can take pictures with you, that would be great.
Sure.
Please go to our website. You can sign the pledge. So one of the biggest barriers to care and, ending this epidemic, obviously stigma. So one of our campaign goals is to address stigma and how do we promote, love and acceptance and, things like that. So sign the pledge. You can go to our website. We also have a lot of resources. If people want to get tested, we have videos about linkage to care. If people they don't know what to do, they want to call a number, we have a number, they can call it, it's anonymous. if they want a HIV test, you know, we can mail it to them. They can even come to our office. You know, there's plenty of resources, so I just want to kind of promote that. Also, just to let you all know, I am also living with HIV. You don't see HIV in people, so, you know, it's a matter of putting yourself out there, talking about it, and I'm going to be honest, it's not always easy.
Yeah.
You know, I went to see my gastroenterologist recently, and they had all sorts of stuff about, you know, your gut health, blah, 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 and one of the things that they kept on putting on, like, the televisions was about hepatitis C. And I was like, why don't they have about HIV? Like, why are they targeting hep C? I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was too chicken to say something to my doctor about like, hey, why don't you have stuff about HIV? Right. Why don't you? And that's okay. I can be gentle with myself. You know, it's all right. It's all right. Maybe next time I go back, I'll be like, hey, here's some of our Bounce to Zero information, you know? If they're asking people about their hep C, why aren't they asking about HIV? So it was just a thought. One of the things, as somebody living with HIV and working in the field, sometimes we feel this pressure like, oh my God, I need to be that person out there telling everybody you need to get tested, you need to get tested. And the bottom line is, sometimes you don't. You can just tweet. You know, we have a Twitter account with Bounce to Zero. If you go to an event, and you know, you want to tweet us like, hey, Bounce to Zero, I'm thinking of you, please do, because it kind of gets out there, you know, and more people start following you and all of that. So little things make a huge difference. Last thing I'm going to say, we also have a YouTube channel, and we're posting videos about people talking about their status, about their story, about their journey. We have religious leaders coming out and talk about the importance of having, you know, the religious community be a part of this. And so even if you were to like watch that video and just share with your friends, like that's enough. That makes a big difference. So I do have t-shirts for y'all and I want to take pictures. That's all I got. Thanks.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Any more audience questions? Okay, well guys, the panelists are here to take photos if you guys want to take photos, and thank you all for coming out.
I think the biggest thing that I took away from this panel discussion is that it's important for people who are living with HIV to understand that U equals U, which means that being undetectable equals untransmittable. But it's not only important for them to understand that, but also us as people who are not living with HIV to get tested and understand that there are options like PrEP and PEP for protecting yourself against HIV as well.
Today's panel discussion highlighted how HIV affects girls and women. I want to take a moment to highlight women my age. We have a responsibility to educate ourselves, to get tested, and reduce stigma around HIV. If you all go to louisianacan.org, there's an opportunity for you to fill in your zip code and find testing near you. Additionally, if you have any questions, feel free to fill out the form on the website. And don't forget to come and participate in the initiatives that we have through louisianacan.org.